Today we're going to discuss returning to Missouri. I remember as a child being told this would happen at some point, but then as I got older, it seemed that the narrative in the church changed. I realized that this came from people confusing the gathering that is happening today to a very different event of a gathering that's going to happen in the future. I think the confusion stems from statements such as these that say to, quote, remain in your native lands, and, quote, you will be blessed in whatever part of the world you are in, and, quote, every nation is the gathering place for its own people. So does this mean that there will be no return to Missouri prior to the second coming? The confusion often comes from faithful members of the church that believe that the second coming is so close that a return to Missouri simply can't be in the cards. There's a great quote by Bruce R. McConkie that I think eliminates all of the confusion. He said, quote, let Israel gather to the stakes of Zion in all nations. Let every land be a Zion to those appointed to dwell there. Let the fullness of the gospel be for all of the saints in all nations. Let no blessing be denied them. Let temples arise wherein the fullness of the ordinances of the Lord's house may be administered, but still there is a center place, a place where the chief temple shall stand, a place to which the Lord shall come, a place whence the law shall go forth to govern all the earth. And that center place is what men now call Independence in Jackson County, Missouri, but which is a day to come will be the Zion of our God and the city of holiness of his people. The site is selected, the place is known. The decree has gone forth, and the promised destiny is assured. He makes it clear that this is a time of gathering in the various lands in which we live, but a time will occur later, yet prior to the second coming. Zion will be established in Jackson County, Missouri. There are many places within the scriptures that contain the prophecies of the return of the righteous to the New Jerusalem, also called Mount Zion. That Zion, the New Jerusalem, will be built upon the American continent. And Joseph Smith identified Independence, Missouri as the specific location. Now, when I speak of quote-unquote Zion, in this video, I'm referring to a specific city, the New Jerusalem. There are many meanings to the word Zion, such as those of being in one heart and one mind. But in this video, I'm specifically talking about the city of Zion in the last days, also known as the New Jerusalem. So why Jackson County, Missouri? The guide to the scripture said that this is a place where, quote, Adam blessed his righteous posterity 3 years before he died, and where he will come before the time of the second coming. Heber C. Kimball said, and I will say more, the spot chosen for this Garden of Eden was Jackson County in the state of Missouri, where Independence now stands. It was occupied in the morn of creation by Adam and his associates, who came with him for the express purpose of peopling this earth. The next thing you may be asking is, okay, when will we go? To understand that, we must first understand who will go to Missouri and why we will go to Missouri. The prophet Ether in the Book of Mormon explains, quote, and that a new Jerusalem should be built up upon this land, unto the remnant of the seed of Joseph, for which things there has been a type. For as Joseph brought his father down into the land of Egypt, even so he died there. Wherefore the Lord brought a remnant of the seed of Joseph out of the land of Jerusalem, that he might be merciful unto the seed of Joseph, that they should perish not, even as he was merciful unto the father of Joseph, that he should perish not. Wherefore the remnant of the house of Joseph shall be built upon this land, and it shall be a land of their inheritance, and they shall build up a holy city unto the Lord, like unto the Jerusalem of old. And they shall no more be confounded until the end come, when the earth shall pass away. End quote. The New Jerusalem is for a remnant of the seed of Joseph. What does that mean, a remnant? The scriptures, especially the Book of Mormon, are filled with stories of remnants. In fact, the constant illustration of a remnant being preserved by the Lord happens so much it is a clear type and shadow of things to come regarding the New Jerusalem. In the Book of Mormon alone, you have many stories, including the story of the brother of Jared, with their families and friends being saved after the confusion of languages at the Tower of Babel and being led to the Promised Land. We have the story of Lehi and Ishmael's family, a righteous remnant being led to the promised land. In Omni, you have most of the Nephites being destroyed except a small remnant led by Mosiah I, who is told by the Lord to leave and find their way to Zarahemla, where they discover the Mulekites, again, a righteous remnant that was led to the promised land. You have the story of Alma after hearing the words of Abinadi, gathering a remnant of righteous believers and fleeing into the wilderness. And these are just a few examples from the Book of Mormon. The scriptures are full of stories where a righteous remnant is led to the promised land, where if they remain righteous, they will be protected and find peace. So who will go to Missouri? Doctrine and Covenants 133 makes it clear that the parable of the 10 virgins is referring to the righteous remnant of the members of the church at that time will be the ones that will go to the New Jerusalem to, quote, meet the bridegroom. It says that the righteous remnant will be among the Gentiles and they will, quote, flee to Zion. It also makes this distinction about those that are of Judah, which should flee to Jerusalem. This is an important distinction to help determine the timeline and order of these things. If you haven't watched it already, you should watch the video I did called The Times of the Gentiles to explain this concept further. Doctrine and Covenants 133 is describing this event after the Gentiles have fully rejected the gospel and the righteous remnant will need to flee to Zion. So why will we go? Here are just a few of the reasons mentioned in Scripture. The wicked will not come unto it. Every man that will not take up his sword against his neighbor must flee unto Zion for safety. And it shall be the place that shall not be at war one with another. It is a land prepared in all things against the day when tribulation and desolation are set forth upon the wicked. And it will be the one place where you can find peace on the earth. Doctrine and Covenants 45 describes those that will live in Zion. It says, quote, and the glory of the Lord shall be there, and the terror of the Lord also shall be there, insomuch that the wicked will not come unto it, and it shall be called Zion. And it shall be said among the wicked, let us not go up to battle against Zion, for the inhabitants of Zion are terrible. Wherefore we cannot stand. And it shall come to pass that the righteous shall be gathered out from among all nations, and shall come to Zion singing with songs of everlasting joy. So when will this all happen? Well, we don't know. But we do know some things that will happen prior and some of the conditions at the time that will drive the righteous to Zion. We will need to obtain the temple lot, which is currently in the hands of another church. Some say we will purchase it, and perhaps we will. But there is an interesting quote by Brigham Young, as stated by Heber C. Kimball, that said that, quote, upon the return of the saints, there would be no inhabitants in the area of Missouri to plague the church. We're going to have to get into that in another video, but additionally, the times of the Gentiles need to be fulfilled. Again, you will want to watch that other video to learn more about that, but it means that the Gentiles have fully rejected the gospel, and this time there will be wars everywhere, including those on American soil. It sounds like total anarchy, and the only refuge is to flee to Zion. The Lord warns us to not race to Missouri. It is clear that he needs to prepare it for his saints, and that the church needs to gather resources and prepare things as well. In section 101, it says, quote, let not your gathering be in haste, but let all things be prepared before you. The scriptures are clear that we must build the city of Zion. Not that it has to be fully built prior to the second coming, but it would seem that this will be a project for those that flee to Zion. Some may say that the city of Enoch will return and be the entire city. We may get into that in another video as well, and certainly at some point during the millennium, the city of Enoch will return, but it isn't clear exactly when. What is clear is that we will build temples in the New Jerusalem. The specific spot for the temple is identified in Doctrine and Covenants 57. Scripture makes it clear that the temple will be built in the last days before the second coming of Jesus Christ. Elder Bruce R. McConkie explained the significance of the temple that will be built in Independence, Missouri. He said, quote, as to the temple unto which all nations shall come in the last days, it shall be built in the New Jerusalem before the second coming. all as a part of the preparatory process that will make ready a people for their Lord's return. Scripture seems to indicate that once Zion is built, that is when the Lord will appear in his glory. The photo here is of an area in Independence, Missouri that the prophet Joseph Smith dedicated in August of 1831 for the building of the Latter-day Temple, commonly referred to as the Temple Lot. About 2 years after he received the revelation recorded in D&C 57, the prophet Joseph Smith received additional revelation concerning the spot where the temple would be constructed. In 1833, the prophet had a plat map drawn for the city of Zion that depicted a temple complex of 24 buildings to be constructed next to each other in Independence. The plat map for the city of Zion was prepared under the direction of the prophet Joseph Smith and sent to the saints in Missouri in June of 1833, along with an architectural plan for the first temple in Zion. Although the first plat is the most famous, church leaders in Kirtland continued to make additional plans for the city of Zion. In August of 1833, they sent a second plat to the saints in Missouri, along with a letter by Oliver Cowdery explaining, quote, "Those patterns previously sent to you per mail by our brethren were incorrect in some respects, being drawn in great haste. We will send you another." The corrected plat made several changes, including 1, the third block for storehouses was eliminated. 2, the remaining temple blocks were made square. 3, the temple blocks were stacked east and west instead of north and south. And 4, the area encompassed by the plat was vastly increased. The new plans for the temple also increased their length by 20 feet. Some of the early saints had preconceived notions about the establishment of Zion in their day. Many of them believed that the second coming of Jesus Christ was imminent. Consequently, some may have believed that the building of Zion and of the temple there would happen very quickly and without much difficulty. However, the Lord cautioned the saints, saying, quote, "Ye cannot behold with your natural eyes for the present time the design of your God concerning those things which shall come hereafter." I wonder if many Latter-day Saints still have preconceived notions about how soon the Lord may come and forget how many of the prophecies still need to be fulfilled before then. This photo is a modern-day aerial view of Independence, Missouri, showing some of the land purchased by the saints in 1831 for the eventual city of Zion and the temple. Notice there are 3 different religions owning land here, including the Community of Christ Church, formerly the RLDS, the Church of Christ, who actually owns the temple lot, and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, with a visitor center and a stake center. So what will go on in New Jerusalem? Temple work, the law shall go forth, Zion shall dwell in safety forever, and he will teach his ways, and we will walk in his paths. And he shall judge among the nations and shall rebuke many people. So how does all of this relate to the second coming? Well, as referenced earlier, the temple in Missouri will be built before the second coming of Jesus Christ. Christ's appearance in the New Jerusalem is the first of several appearances. Another is to the Jews after saving them from a hostile army, and even another to the rest of the world when he comes in red apparel. To learn more about these, see my video on the times of the Gentiles, and read Doctrine and Covenants 133, as well as a great speech by Ezra Taft Benson while he was prophet in 1981 at BYU entitled, "Prepare Yourselves for the Great Day of the Lord." I've put the link here for your reference. As you study the scriptures and the signs of the times, beware of myths and opinions. Watch your sources, beware of timelines and multiple fulfillments of prophecies. Thank you for watching.